All right. This weekend is going to be way too close to call. Caio Borralho versus Jared Cannonier. It's unpredictable. And to everybody online who's saying, don't bet on this fight, I'm on that train. Because one, it's so hard to even want to predict fights. Even though, my fight prediction rate is pretty good, I still don't like to predict them because it's just man, it could surprise you. Like Steven Ursag versus Kai Kara France last pay-per-view. I thought that Steven Ursag was going to have more ways to win that. But then I always look at it with the opposite, where Kai Kara's got really good striking and he could sit Steve down if he's not careful. What happened? It's always you got to put yourself in both fighters' shoes in seeing where it's going to go. And this is a perfect example. It's Caio Borralho versus Jared Cannonier, because Caio Borralho just kind of made a wave at UFC 301 when he faced Paul Craig. And Jared Cannonier had a very close fight with Imavov, who that got stopped quite early, where we could say, hey, if Imavov and Cannonier run that back, do you think Cannonier could take it? Because you could tell for someone of Cannonier's age, who's in his 40s now, I believe, he can still hang with the best, and he's had longevity for being at the age he's at. The guy just challenged for a title not too long ago against Israel Adesanya, and you know what? Did pretty decent. He stayed, very defensively sound for the most part. I mean, I think he could have done more. I just think that Adesanya, was able to match his style. But until then, when you saw Jared Cannonier face, what's his name? Brunson, Derek Brunson, the way that he was able to stop Brunson's takedowns, near the second round, where Brunson had to gas himself out, that shows how hard Jared Cannonier is to get to the ground. Now, here's the thing. Caio Borralho can definitely take this to the ground if he's able to get past that takedown defense and he's able to use his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just to finish him off. There's a lot of ways Caio can win this fight. I think that most likely just because the last fight we saw him was against Paul Craig, and Paul Craig, I know he knocked out Paul Craig, but I'm not here to talk down on anybody, but Paul Craig's striking is not the best in the middleweight division. He's more of a grappler, and Paul's had some very amazing fights at 205 and 185. But he's more of a jiu-jitsu guy. He's there to get you to the ground, and then once he gets you to the ground, you got to watch out because you're looking for trouble. However, when it comes to the stand-up game, he lacks a lot in that. So was Caio just picking on an easy target for his style in the middleweight division? Probably. I think it's very safe to say. However, you're going to go up against Jared Cannonier, who's one of the deadliest strikers in the division. So now, obviously, he's getting older. We don't know how long he's going to hold up for, but he doesn't look like he's slowing down, and that's the scary part, where I'm okay, he's got something that he could catch Caio with, but if Caio is able to, surprise us and show us how good his striking really is, there's that too. But this is going to tell a lot. This fight is going to tell a lot about Caio. It's going to tell where Jared Cannonier's at. And, I'm not counting Caio striking out completely. I'm just saying, last fight, it's very easy to knock Paul Craig out if you're an upper echelon fighter. Now, if you're not an upper echelon fighter, I think it would be a little bit more difficult to fight Paul Craig. But Caio Borralho definitely has shown that he's good. But if he beats Jared Cannonier, he's that good. But he's punching up way in the rankings. He's going into the top 5 now. Now, I obviously think that there were names at middleweight like Brendan Allen that he should have taken on first just to kind of get himself a little more seasoned up. If he fought more big names in the rankings, then going up against Jared Cannonier, I would say he has this in the bag. But since last time we saw him was against Paul Craig, we don't know how good he is. So I think this is a big what-if fight. So if Caio is able to manage the striking and he's able to get Jared to the ground somehow, or he's able to rock with it, lean with it, then I have Caio winning this. But if Jared Cannonier has tread left in the tire, which he probably does, he's going to want to come back and get that rematch with Imavov. So he's got a lot of motivation behind him. I think that Jared could also win this fight. So who do I have as the underdog? Just based on lack of experience, true hard top 5 experience, I'm going to go with my favorite right now being Jared Cannonier, just because he's managed a lot of the threats that Caio could put on. But I'm not going to make Caio a serious super underdog because I think he's very close to just being down the middle, where both guys have minus 100 on Vegas odds if I were to make those Vegas odds, just because it's so close to call. I really can't predict it, and everybody's got something in this fight going for them. Or we could just be treated to a 25-round war where both guys have really good striking, both guys have really good grappling, both go for takedowns. Maybe they get some, maybe they don't, and we're just treated to one of the best fights of all time. And then after that, I'll say, okay, well, Caio's definitely top 5 material, but let's look at the other top 5 that he's going at in the middleweight division. So, I'm going to probably move the goalposts a little bit more after this fight, depending on how hard fought and how deep everybody has to dig. But until then, man, this is going to be one of those chapters at middleweight where it's going to tell a lot. Are we finally just getting rid of the last of this torch to the next generation of fighters? Because look at the people in that generation who are starting to kind of like go down a little bit when it comes to fighting the bigger names, or like the Sean Stricklands or the Duplessis. Like Robert Whittaker was the man, like the second man, up until, Duplessis caught him, and now he's showing signs of kind of slowing down. I don't think it was that Duplessis was, the better fighter against Robert Whittaker. I think it's that Robert Whittaker has been around so long that we're starting to see like a loose edge. But, Robert Whittaker, Yo Romero's no longer there. And then Jared Cannonier was with those guys. Like Derek Brunson, too, fighting with those guys. He's probably like that, one of the last pillars next to Robert Whittaker, who's still in that top echelons of the division, who's kind of just saying, okay, we're holding up this last little bit of this generation, but once this next generation of Caio, Borralho, and, Duplessis and Sean Strickland take over, we're just seeing the time move by. But this chapter is going to be saying a lot about where we're at in that timeline. But that's what I got to say. Man, I'm psyched for this fight because, after he knocked out Paul Craig and called out Jarrett, I was like, is he going to take this one? And he did. And I'm like, you know what? Game on. I will see you guys next time.